Hello and welcome. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness, and I want to welcome you to this video. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. And if you like what you see, please take the time to subscribe. I'm putting in this little intro for you today because this is the second part to growing Swiss chard in a clothes basket. Well, I've been watching some other videos around lately, and when I got to the end, it seemed to end abruptly. And it was like, well, what else are you going to tell me? Well, here's what happened to me. As I was editing this and getting it all ready for you, and I was getting ready to click on the last video, the last section, it wasn't there. In fact, what it appears to have happened is that the camera filled up and boom, there was no video. So what I'm going to end with, so not to disappoint you, is I'm going to have some pictures at the end. In fact, a couple of the pictures are here at the beginning. So I hope you enjoy this video. This is the one of me filling up the basket, putting in the dirt, and how I layered the dirt in the basket. So forgive me for the ending that's being short, but I think what you see will be very helpful to you. So let's get started. I love my chimes, but I'm shutting you up right now until I finish this. So in the previous video, I guess I want to call it part one, or maybe this is part one. No, this will be part two. I showed you making the bag to fit inside of my dollar store clothes basket. And so it fits. I probably could have made it a circumference a little wider, but by the time I put the base on it, the bottom on it, it fits. And by the time I put dirt in it, it's going to be good. I've pulled down the side, so it's a single width. It's not double like I make my bags that are sitting on their own. This is a single width. And mainly so the water drains out, that I get air pruning. The bottom of this has holes in it, so the water will drain out. However, I don't have one handy, but I've showed it to you. At the dollar store, I got the oil pan. All right, it's called an oil pan. It's in the automotive section. And I'm going to put that in there because it'll hold some water so the roots can get water from the bottom as well as possibly on the sides, the roots won't get waterlogged. And so I do that. So how do I fill this particular bag to be used? Now I've changed my method over the years. Before it was just dirt like other people do, the different mixtures of dirt. I've changed that. So now I've got tons of leaves. I try not to throw away any of my leaves. I bag them up, and if I catch my daughter throwing them away, I pull them back in. So I've got bags of leaves. So one of the things I do is I put leaves. Now the other thing I've done is I've kind of made a horticulture bed in the bottom of my baskets. So I'll take some wood, some small pieces of wood, and I'll put down there. But this time I'm not going to do that. This time I put in, quite a few inches of dried leaves, and they'll break up. Now what's going to happen over time is as the water soaks into the leaves, they're going to break down. and they're going to hold water for me, so I don't have to water as often. And when we get rain like we just had, it's going to hold enough water. And what's great is what I found is as the roots grow and they do the air pruning, the roots hit the outside of that and they prune off. When it air prunes, the root ball is thicker, much denser. So I've got that. I also picked up a bag of, let me see, what's it called? Majestic Earth Sphagnum peat moss. This peat moss that we get is out of Canada. So there seems to be a thing about ecology and sustainability. And so the peat bogs, like in Ireland and other places, are closed now. But for some reason, the peat bog, as much as they've taken out of the Canada peat forest, whatever, harvested, they still have a lot. And it's that argument between coconut coir, and peat moss. Well, peat moss, I got it 3 cubic feet, huge, right? And it's super dry, as you see me breaking it up right now. I mean, I had to break off a chunk off of the amount. Anyway, excuse me. Some of this peat moss is getting in my throat. Anyhow, so I put a layer of peat moss. So some people put vermiculite in there. I'm putting peat moss. Now, this peat moss is dry, just like my leaves are dry. So the peat moss will expand and it will hold moisture. It doesn't have any real nutrient value. It's just used to hold water. Now, most people mix it with their dirt. I can do that too. But at this moment, I want it mixed with my leaves. Okay? Now, the other thing that I use when I am making my pots is a fertilizer, an all-purpose fertilizer, and it's 13-13-13. I get it from Walmart, and for the longest time Walmart didn't have it, and I finally went online and they had it in, and it was available for delivery. So guess what? Or for pickup. Not delivery, for pickup. So I went and I got 2 bags, and one bag lasted me almost 2 years. So, and the price is like $15 a bag, which is a whole lot cheaper than the specialized ones, but 13-13-13. So each of my plants get what they need. Not only that, I can use it on my lawn. I can use it for my herbs. I just sprinkle it on top and let it do its thing. The other thing I'm adding now, so I've added a little bit of the 13-13-13 down here with the leaves and the peat moss. So the next thing I'm going to add, I was going to do that, but the next thing I'm going to add to this, so I'm kind of doing this in layers, but it's going to get mixed. Sometimes when I'm doing a lot of pots, I do this mix on a tart. And I don't need a tart right now. Oops. This is just a bag of topsoil. It's called Expert Topsoil. Again, it comes from Walmart. I think it's $1.15 a bag. Only problem with it, it stays moist, so it is heavy. Okay, so it doesn't have very much what I want to say. Humus in it is just topsoil. So what I'm going to do here is I'm mixing it with the leaves and the peat moss. And I'm telling you, the topsoil when it's wet is a pain to work with. So my cow manure compost is easy. Usually it's not super wet and yucky. But so mixing this with peat moss, and it's not a good mix, it's just a simple mix. But with that, it will help the leaves break down. The peat moss will help hold dirt in there, and this is really a filler for this big bag. Okay? All right. So peat, leaves, 13, 13, 13. And topsoil. Okay. Give it some. There. Alright, so that's what it looks like right now. Now, what's next? Well, I'm going to give it a little more. 13, 13, 13. Not much. Just enough. A little bit more peat moss on top. It's almost like when I did one of my raised beds, I did lasagna gardening, right? Just different layers of things. All right, so here comes the next shocker. I gotta go get it. It again is part of when I am doing, I built my horticulture bed. And I went to the local grocery store and said, give me all your throwaway vegetables and that you throw away when you clean off the vegetables and stuff in the back. And I got several boxes. Okay, so this has been sitting here a day or so waiting for me to do this. So I just threw in 2 tea bags, and this is vegetables from the kitchen. It's been sitting here a while, so it started the decomposing process. So I'm going to spread that across the bottom. I kind of learned this, I think I mentioned it in another video, from Robbie and Robbie? Yes. Robbie and Bob, I think it is. Okay, guys, stop. For Robbie and Bob. And so she composts right in her pots. And I said, good, because when I was trying to put the kitchen scraps on the compost pile, I had visitors, and you don't want visitors. All right, so a little bit more peat moss. Now, you can do your layering any way you want, right? But I've come out in my pots and I've dug holes and I put the veggies in there. Just dug a deep hole around in the raised beds and just buried the veggies. So composting where I'm growing. So it's not very much right now. This isn't much. Aha, hold on a second. Okay, I am back. I just went over to the old Swiss Chard one that I just broke up. Right, this is all from that Swiss Chard. And we'll put that in there too. And here's my oil pan. Goes just like that. All right. Well, this is where the camera decided to stop working. So what I was about to tell you is, so we are composting in the pot. And with adding the leaves and the peat moss and other things, it helps this hold water. As many of you know, when you compost or when you're planting in pots, they tend to dry out faster. And especially in this situation where you have this basket with the um, sides open, water will evaporate fairly quickly. Now, the air pruning and all that works, and so you can look up using grow bags and air pruning and making sure that you have things so you get water on a continuous basis. When I first tried the grow bags, I bought a kiddie pool, put drilled holes around it about 2 inches up, and I watered the pool, and therefore the plants were got their water from the pool. So one of the things is that I had tomato plants in there, so they didn't get splashed on. So that's the concept here. Now, the next thing I added, as you will see circled here, is that pot right next to me. That is horse manure compost. And then the bag just below that is the timberland cow manure. And so I added those next and I mixed them together. So I got horse manure, cow manure, and compost. And I was able to mix those and make it a really good mix that will allow the roots to breathe. However, it will also allow them to hold moisture in between my watering because some days I don't get out there. You know, most times you've got to water these pots daily, but when there's a good rain or you water them well and you have a pot or a reservoir of water for them to access, then you're in good shape. But if you don't have a reservoir for them to access, then you really have to make sure that you have a method of getting them watered daily. All right, so I took this, got it all done, and in this picture you see the basket sitting out there, and I have planted approximately 4 Swiss chard seeds in that basket and set them out. Now, initially, I'm going to keep that top layer of dirt moist so that the seeds will sprout. It'll be about 10 to 14 days before those seeds sprout, and I'll be getting a new harvest. But in the meantime, I have Swiss chard in the raised bed. I want to thank you for watching and listening today. And what I'm going to share with you is rain here in Texas, and it'll give you a view of my backyard food forest and all the pots. And you may get a view of the raised beds. They're all along the fence, grapevines growing along the fence, and so on. Again, if you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when I am uploading a new video.